Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to Ask WrestleJuice. We got Summerslam just around the corner. You guys got a bunch of questions. Let's go ahead and dive into them. First up, from a Bridger man says, if this year's Summerslam was 2 nights, how would you book it? I actually did a little bit of thinking on this one, and I got myself my Summerslam 2-night card because it's going to be 2 nights starting, I think, next year or something like that. I don't know when it is. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into it. Night 1, the main event would be Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the women's world title. I think that is one of the biggest matches they've got on the card this year. Also on night 1, you'd have the other world title, the one from Raw, Damian Priest versus Gunther. You'd also have the women's tag team titles, which is going to be on the line tomorrow night on SmackDown. We'd also put LA Knight winning the United States Championship, and we'd also be adding Chad Gable versus Bo Dallas / Uncle Howdy. You can advance that story with an actual match. I know they've got the tag match coming up on Raw, but I would have hot-shotted this a little bit to make it onto the card. Also, maybe, just maybe, you do the finals for whatever speed tournament they got going on recently. I don't keep up with the speed, but it'd be kind of cool to get a speed match on a pay-per-view, right? Less than 3 minutes. You're not really taking up a whole lot of time. That's less than a lot of their promo packages or recap packages. All right, let's head to night 2. The main event for night 2 would be Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. That's right, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. I know it's going to have the return of Roman Reigns. We'll get to that in a second. So this is how I would book this night. It would open up with Damage Control versus the DeVille group, the DeVille crew. That'd be 6-man. Because, here's the thing. Triple H has not been doing a great job booking really hot women's feuds. So you gotta put them on the card somewhere. We had the women's tag titles the night before. Night 2, we'd have Damage Control versus DeVille's crew. We'd have Sammy versus Braun for the Intercontinental Championship. You'd have those SmackDown tag titles, the WWE tag titles, where Bloodline's clearly going to win them. You'd put that on the actual SummerSlam card because that shouldn't be just on a rando SmackDown. You'd put Cody versus Solo. Cody versus Solo. And then Bayley versus Nia Jax. And then the main event would be Drew Punk. And then you would do an angle where the aftermath of Cody versus Solo Sikoa would happen. So, the match is done. Cody keeps the title. Maybe he's backstage. Bloodline attacks. They send Cody out to the ring, and then that's when you get the big return of Roman Reigns. Because I'm sorry, that Drew McIntyre CM Punk feud, it's too good not to main event. And let's be honest, Cody versus Solo, we all know how that's going to end up. Cody's going to win that title. So you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You can put the title match on earlier in the show, do the Drew Punk match for the main event, and then you can have Roman Reigns coming back if you run a post-match angle with Cody and Solo in the Bloodline. So there you go. There's my two-night SummerSlam. Stu Wellbaum says, what do you see being the main event for Bad to Blood in October? Would not be surprised to see Drew Punk main event inside the cell. I don't know if they want to put CM Punk through Hell in a Cell. I don't think that's going to happen. I kind of feel like they might move on after this and then revisit it down the line. I think it's going to be some sort of Judgment Day situation. Look, it seems kind of obvious from the go-home mat that Gunther's going to beat Damian Priest at SummerSlam. That's sort of where I'm leaning right now. That being said, I think there is a lot that you can mine with Judgment Day, and I think Bad Blood is going to play out. It's going to be a Judgment Day heavy show. That's my guess. So if it's Priest versus Finn Balor, maybe that'll be the situation, something like that. I know, you guys know I'm obsessed with Priest versus Finn Balor doing stuff. But here's the thing, the main event is going to be for a title. So, yeah, maybe not a Judgment Day thing because Priest is going to lose the title at SummerSlam. I don't know. Rhea versus Liv, Hell in a Cell. There you go. Gray Assassin says, do you ever think they will change the WWE Championship to an older design? I do not. If they change it to anything, which I don't think they're going to, if they change it to anything, they'll just sort of add on to it. I don't think they were going to revert it at all. They might add, some wings or something to it if Cody wants to go that route. But I don't think they're going to revert it to an older design. Orlando Wright says, we are over 5 years since their inception, but have the WWE Women's Tag Titles been a success or a failure to you? I think it's been a success, not an overwhelming success. I don't think that has been a resounding success, but because I don't think there's been like the only definitive women's tag team I can think of necessarily has probably been Bayley and Sasha Banks. I liked the Sasha Banks Naomi combo, and then they split town for good reason. So yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like they haven't been prominent enough. Like even Bianca and Jade only got like what 49 days, 39 days, something like that with the titles. If they really ran with those titles, which I think they're going to get them back, and had like a really defining run for them, maybe, I mean, I know they're probably going to main event. They're probably not even going to main event on SmackDown. If they main event like a pay-per-view, if they main event even a regular, run of Raw and SmackDowns, then we're really talking. But it's gotten plenty of, it's elevated. It's given something for the women to do, and that's always a good thing. So I think it's been a success. I don't think it's been like an overwhelming success. Anthony R says, should Gunta's first feud be with Dragunov, or should they save that for a Mania or even Survivor Series? It seems like they're probably, look, if Gunther wins at SummerSlam, there's no reason why he wouldn't have Ilya win a number one contendership match before Berlin and have Ilya versus Gunther at Berlin. That makes a lot of sense. But otherwise, if they're not going to do that, then save it, have Ilya climb. Maybe he takes the IC title off of Braun after he wins it, and then he can go up to the world title scene. But you want to have a feud between those two guys. You just want to take your time with it. Gorilla Mon says, in order, who's on your personal Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, and why is each one placed where they are? My own personal Mount Rushmore of wrestling would be these four names. It'd be Triple H. I was always a Triple H guy back in the day. I loved NXT Black and Gold, and I really appreciate the bigger stories that he's telling these days. But as a wrestler, I was always a Triple H guy. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he literally got me into WWF. I was already into WCW because of the NWO, but Austin, he was next level for me. I loved Austin. Rob Van Dam, the first time I saw Rob Van Dam wrestle, I was blown away by like what wrestling could be. I thought he was the best. I'm still a big Rob Van Dam fan. And then I'd go with Daniel Bryan, the planet's champion, Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, just one of the absolute best wrestlers you ever see. And yet at the same time, it's got all that charisma, got that personality. The stuff with him and Kane was amazing back in the day. Yeah, I'm a big Daniel Bryan guy. Speaking of Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, Richard Reynolds says, is Bryan gonna go into the WWE Hall of Fame in the near future? I say yes, no pun intended, with the impact of what he's been, blah, blah, blah. Somebody else also asked, do I see Daniel Bryan coming back to WWE after All In? Let me get that name right now. Kevin Madsen says, win or lose, do you think Danielson would go back to WWE after All In? So as we all know, the contract is up now. All In, he's agreed to do, but afterwards he's a free agent. I do not expect him to go back to WWE. Absolutely not. I think he's got a good thing that he enjoys in AEW. He enjoys the process of helping to build that company. I think Tony Khan relies on him as a creative mind, and I think he'll basically be able to do whatever he wants to do while being a part of AEW. They probably pay him really well. So I don't see him going to WWE. I think there's the possibility 5-10 years from now that he ends up in their Hall of Fame if he wants to go there. But otherwise, I think that he's going to be in AEW for a while. I think there's a possibility he wins that title All In. I love the idea, because we brought it up today at Going in Raw. I love the idea of him going heel maybe at All In, winning, and then ending up joining the Elite or something like that. I think that could be a lot of fun, because Bryan Danielson as a heel is a lot of fun. I don't know if I see it, though. I think he's probably just going to end up retiring, and then when he's ready to wrestle again, he'll come back. It's wrestling. You can write it in the script that he's out of retirement. Terry Funk's done it a million times. Urameshi3 says, favorite promo video, the Austin Rock WrestleMania X7 promo with Limp Bizkit is legendary, but the one WrestleMania 26 Taker Michaels promo with the remix of Running Up That Hill by Placebo is goated. I agree with you 1,000%. That is a killer promo. Larson and I did, I think, a count out not that long ago where we talked about that. That is an absolutely killer promo video, and it's a great song. Oddly, like more recent than that, it might have been SummerSlam last year or maybe the pay-per-view before it, but there was a promo video featuring David Kushner's Daylight for Cody Brock That brought me to fucking tears. I'm like, why are they using this song? It's beautiful. It's such a wonderful song. And I was like, for Cody Brock? That's nuts. But it was so well done. That's going to be my most recent favorite one. But yeah, no, I think the Taker Michaels running up that hill one, I think that's probably the top of my list as well. Deep Voice Dude has got a great question. When did you personally stop caring about WCW? Was there a specific moment or did you just gradually stop watching? Dude, I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty sure it was a finger poke of doom. It was a gradual thing though, because they did that. And I probably was just like, okay, what are they going to do next week? And when I saw what they did next week, it was just a lame promo. It might've been on Thunder. It was just, I was so put off by the finger poke of doom. I remember thinking during that episode, oh man, Hogan's back. They're going to do that match. That's kind of crazy. Because for the longest time they were doing the Hollywood Wolfpack thing. Then Hollywood was gone. And it was like, oh man, Nash is going to whoop his ass. This is going to be interesting. And then they do that. And it's like, this is the worst thing I can see. It was on par to me with the Vince being revealed as the higher power. It's like, you're thinking in the back of your head, what's the lamest thing they could do here? They're good. They're probably going to do something really lame here. And that's what they did with the higher power. That's what they did with the finger poke of doom. And it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe they actually did the lamest thing I could think of. Wow. Damn it. Domo says, what's most likely to happen? New TNA game or TNA wrestlers appearing in 2K25? I could see maybe a TNA DLC. Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, the Rascals. I could see that as a possibility. Yeah, I could see that. More probably than a new TNA game. The problem with TNA games is like they take so long to make, and these wrestlers are only under contract with TNA for so long. So unless they did like a legacy thing of TNA is able to secure sort of legacy rights for some of the old wrestlers like Samoa Joe, maybe AJ Styles, some other wrestlers going back, and then the ones who seem like they're going to stick around TNA for a while. But I don't think anybody's talked about that. Video games are just so expensive to make these days. But a DLC pack for 2K, that's a possibility. The Wallinator says, why does the IWC still revile NXT 2.0 and the current iteration of NXT is barely any different? I don't know. So first of all, I don't know that the IWC reviles NXT 2.0 at this point. I've seen a lot of pushback on that. The version of NXT now is just it's the evolution of NXT 2.0, right? There's like a through line there. The reason why NXT 2.0 was so reviled back when it happened was because we were forced to start over. We were forced to wait and see on a bunch of unproven talent. All of a sudden, I'm supposed to believe that Braun Breaker, a guy who was security 3 weeks earlier, could beat LA Knight like night one. Like, it didn't make any sense, and I needed it to make sense, and that's why I hated it. I was like, I don't know who these new people are. This set is atrocious. It's so ugly, and they just completely did away with one of my favorite brands in pro wrestling. That's why I hated it. And then we were forced to wait and see, and it's turned out pretty good. I kind of enjoy NXT these days. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but when I watch it, I get a kick out of it. So, yeah, that's why. Like, 2.0, back then, when you think about it, it was so clunky and awkward the way they just sort of changed everything. Who belongs where are people going to go? And it was scrubbing the decks of a really beloved thing. And we all knew why. Because Vince was pissed off that NXT couldn't beat AEW in the ratings. And he was like, okay, well, screw everything you've done. We're going to start from scratch. That was it. JV5268 says, what do you think Punk's finale of the Real World Championship storyline would have been? So I don't know, and I'll be honest with you, I feel like there wasn't a plan there. I'd love somebody to ask him that question or ask Tony Khan that question because I think I'd love to know. I'd love to know. All right, we'll end on this one. Andrew Sharp says, in lieu of the Dr. Doom news, in light of the Dr. Doom news, who can be seen as the Robert Downey Jr. professional wrestling? So an earlier question asked me what I thought about Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. I will tell you guys, my answer to that question and this one is kind of the same. For whatever reason, when he pulled off that mask and it was Robert Downey Jr. underneath, I thought to myself, Brock Lesnar. I was like, oh, they're probably just paying a shitload of money to this guy to come back and rescue the franchise the same way Vince McMahon thought he was doing with Brock Lesnar so many times in the WWE. Oh man, we really need to bring this guy back because we got nothing else. I have not built up any other stars. That's Vince McMahon's thing back in the day was let's just wheel Brock back out, give him a lot of money, let him do whatever he wants to do, no matter how boring it is. And that was his thing. That's what I thought when I saw Robert Downey Jr. It's a whole other conversation about the amount of money he's making because for whatever reason, Twitter has been pushing me so many tweets complaining about Robert Downey Jr. and how much money he's making. And I'm like, you know what? Disney is in desperation mode when it comes to the MCU. They needed something big, something shocking. This wasn't the thing. I mean, I honestly think it's a stupid idea. That being said, if there's an interesting way they can pull it off, then maybe it'll be fun. I'll believe it when I see it. It's going to be like in a million years from now, so whatever. But yeah, what, $100 million or whatever it is for Robert Downey Jr. to come back, plus like a private plane and security and stuff. Good for him for getting the bag, for, you know, basically taking it to Disney and being like, if you want me, it's going to cost a stupid amount of money. Good for him. And I get people saying, well, you know, people who are, you know, doing other smaller jobs on the movies are making peanuts. And I get that too. They should get paid more money too. But what's Robert Downey Jr. supposed to do? Be like, no, I'm only going to take 50 million, and I want you to give that 30 million to the other people working on the movie. It's just not realistic. That's not how Disney would work. They'd be like, okay, we're going to take that extra $30 million or $50 million, whatever, and we're just going to take it ourselves for our CEOs. So it's not like him making all that money is Disney taking it out of the pockets of the people who are making less money. That's just Disney's going to pay those people doing smaller jobs a smaller amount of money, regardless of what they're paying the guy at the top. So don't get mad at him for don't get mad at him for having a good agent. If somebody was like, hey, Steve, do you want $100 million? I'd be like, yeah, sure. I'll take that money. I'll get myself an indoor basketball hoop. It'd be pretty awesome. Have Larson over every day for basketball. That'd be great. Hire a bunch of people to job to us in basketball. That'd be amazing. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. Hire one of the Sacramento Kings players to come by the indoor hoop. Me, Larson, and him against another 3 of jobbers. Just be feeding each other all day long. That'd be nice. See you guys around.